Powered by Riverside.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Codd, this evening, and let's sit back and let's have some fun talking about Darlington. As we exit the Goodyear. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button there. Again, talking Darlington here with all you folks. 2025 Goodyear 400 is in the books, and we will get you ready for our 2025 Food City 500 on tonight's episode. Like we usually do, you already know the routine. We already do our fast headliners courtesy of jski.com. Then we will discuss the Xfinity Series a little bit, and then we will be discussing the Cup Series race that occurred this past Sunday down at Darlington. Man, last year, I think a lot of you have heard, we went on the road to Darlington, and I will say this. If you've never been to the Lady in Black and you've never been to Darlington, that is one trip you have to cross off your bucket list. Have to. The way that that track is groomed, the way that track is located, and the way that they keep it, it is absolutely beautiful. It is one of the best tracks, best race experiences I probably have ever been to. Unfortunate circumstances this year, I couldn't make it down there. I had an opportunity to go down. Unfortunately, it was last minute. I was really looking forward to getting back down to that racetrack. Watching the race at home this year definitely killed me a little bit because I was like, damn, I was there last year, had a blast, had a great time. But, you know, I'm so happy, and I don't think I've said this enough on this podcast. I feel like legacy tracks should be ran twice a year. What do I mean by legacy tracks? Well, again, Darlington, I think, should be ran twice a year. I think Daytona should be ran twice a year. I think Talladega should be ran twice a year. I think Atlanta, of course, should be ran twice a year, especially now with the restrictor plate. Charlotte, obviously, we already know that's the hub of NASCAR. That's a legacy track that should be ran twice a year. I believe that Bristol and Martinsville should be ran twice a year as well. No hesitations, no questions asked. And for me, I know I got some fans that kind of disagree with this one, but I believe that Richmond should be ran twice a year. I know that they were running it twice a year all the way up until this past season. And of course, that was the date that was sacrificed for the Mexico road course. But I think the best thing, and I know that COVID kind of, obviously changed a lot of things for everybody, right? I think one of the best things that we saw, though, that came from COVID, in my personal opinion, is that we were back at Darlington twice a year. And before that, we just ran the Southern 500 from 2015 to, what was it, 2015, I believe, until 2019. We ran the Southern 500 on Labor Day. But then we had that stupid stretch of racing or scheduling that pushed Darlington to early May for the Southern 500 for multiple years. I want to say, I think that was from 2005, if I'm not mistaken. If you're listening live, chime on in on the chat. I believe it was 2005 all the way up until about 2014. They ran the Southern 500 in May, which to me made absolute zero sense. And NASCAR, for me, I'm so glad that they essentially moved off that agenda of neglecting some of these southern tracks. I'm so happy that they realized that Darlington is a gem. The place sells out all the time. I mean, even on Sunday, I mean, the aerial view of the grandstands at Darlington for a, spring race, completely sold out stands. When I was there last year for the Goodyear 400 in 2024, completely sold out. I'm so happy that, in regards to this, I'm happy the pandemic happened because it did give us an opportunity to go back to Darlington twice a year. It did. I hope to God that they never change it. I do like, and we'll be discussing a little bit with all of you about this as well, because the Star Driver essentially did say that the Throwback Weekend kind of ran its course. But I do appreciate that Darlington, the first race, has its own identity with the throwback weekend, and then the Southern 500, it's its own entity, right? I do miss watching the Southern 500 though sometimes in those awesome throwback paint schemes. It does break my heart. I'm like, damn, man, that. But I am happy that Darlington did something unique. They were like, listen, we lost two dates at one point. NASCAR rewarded us because we were really the first track to open up the 2020 series again after the pandemic. NASCAR rewarded us with two race weekends. How do we evolve it into separate identities? Which I believe that's something that I think a lot of fans here on the Broken Wheel Bearing podcast slash anywhere in NASCAR, I believe that's one of the biggest issues I think fans have is that a lot of these tracks that we run twice a year, like a Phoenix or Martinsville or Bristol, they don't have their own identities, right? And yes, Phoenix, and I've always said this, I'm a big advocate. The first race in the spring at any of these tracks is a totally different magnitude than being a playoff race. Straight up, it is. We all know that. But like I said, Darlington opens up the playoffs every single year, but their spring race is so energetic and exciting. And I believe the reason why is because we have that identity of it being the throwback weekend. For me, if you want to spruce up some of these double dates at tracks like Bristol and all that type of stuff, Bristol was unique, obviously, because we had the dirt, but I'm going to be honest with you, that dirt was fun for one season. And then I was like, put me back on the damn concrete, please. Put me on the concrete in the day race. Because Bristol is unique in regards to it does have two identities, right? The second race of the year is the night race. And of course, now that being an elimination race has so much of a magnitude. In the spring, we ran it on the daytime. So the data could be a little bit different, a little bit skewed. So I do believe that if you have two dates, you should try to change up the identities a little bit. Daytona does a really good job of that as well. So enough of that. Let's discuss this week. Before we get into discussions in regards to headliners, discussions in regards to the race itself, a couple show announcements. Folks, if you love what you're hearing, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in to us on Wednesday nights on our YouTube channel at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. If you're listening to us live or just checking this out for the first time, you love what you're hearing, you think that, hey, this guy is pretty cool. I like what he says. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Um, if you miss our segments every Wednesday night together live on air, feel free to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and our episodes will be posted up as well on those subscriptions. So, a couple of ways to listen to us. And again, if you really love us and you're like, damn, this guy's really cool, he knows what he's talking about, definitely want to interact with him a lot more, follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Hit follow, hit subscribe, hit like, hit follow. We do a question every single week. We try to engage the fans, try to engage the audience. After race day or before the race, we always talk about kind of our picks that we discuss on the episodes leading into the race weekend. And then, of course, we will discuss with you some post race thoughts before we get into the Wednesday night show. So, multiple ways to follow us again: Facebook, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. And again, we appreciate everybody that follows us. Can't do this without any one of you. Can't. It's honestly pretty humbling. It's a fun experience. I feel like we have a great fan base. We have great folks that like us, listen to us, talk shop with us essentially, and continue supporting us because when I first started this podcast a couple years ago, I didn't even think I would get one single soul to follow or like me. Actually, that's a lie. My father would definitely listen to me because he likes to talk NASCAR, and he's like, "Listen, if I don't have to talk to him on the phone, then I'll listen to his show." um, but again, I appreciate everyone's love and support. Second show announcements, or second and third, excuse me. We are coming up rapidly, quickly. Last week on the episode, I announced that we will be heading this show. We'll be doing a show on the road this year at the Coke 600 in 2025 down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I am looking forward to that more than anything. I am ecstatic that I had an opportunity to get me down to Charlotte. Last year, I knocked out the crown jewel of Daytona. This year, it's going to be Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coke 600. We'll give you out more details to follow on where we're located during our live recording of the episode. Stop by and listen to us while we're live. Second, BWB tailgate, Pocono tailgate is on. We are back. We will be back up there. I've been advertising this for the last couple of weeks. I'm excited for what this tailgate could be this year. We had a really good turnout last year. We had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, a little rain in the morning, but once the rain went away, we ended up having a great time at our BWB tailgate. If you're going to Pocono and you love this show and you love listening to us, we will give out details as we get a month away from Pocono. So we're a couple of weeks away from that. We'll give out more details on our BWB tailgate. Feel free to come by. We'll, like we did last year, we're gonna have some beers. Let's hang out. Let's get ready for the race at Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Final show announcement before we head into the fast headliners this week. We have Dover. Yes, that's right. 7/20/2025. We will be doing a live episode from the Monster Mile down at Dover Motor Speedway. Looking forward to being back down there. First time, as I said, for the last couple of weeks, first time down there since 2019. And again, being the Delaware Valley's voice of NASCAR in Pennsylvania, I'm excited to continue expanding my brand to to a local audience outside the Philadelphia market. So, Charlotte, Pocono, Dover. Those are the three opportunities that we will have together on our shows on the road in 2025. So, again, look forward to seeing you at the track this year. All right. Now, let's take the green flag on some show announcements this week. All show announcements courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on X, follow them on Facebook, and follow them by web at www.jski.com. Before we get into the articles, I apologize. Blown Engine Line is wide open, by the way. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, feel free to comment on the Blown Engine chat line. If you're pissed off what happened down at Darlington this past weekend, or any article or anything in general NASCAR related, feel free to jump on the chat line. We would love to hear your voice, and hopefully throughout the show I could be the voice of reasoning for you to calm you down from your favorite driver's mistakes or pit crew's mistakes. I wanted to make sure that our audience was well aware of that if you're listening to us live on YouTube. So back to the articles, or back to the headliners, excuse me. First headliner this week, courtesy of jski.com. Legacy Motor Club is suing Rick Ware Racing over the charter sale. They have an update on this one. Interesting update. Again, this article, again, courtesy of jski.com. Legacy Motor Club has now obtained a temporary restraining order against Rick Ware Racing. The case will continue to move forward, but for now, Rick Ware Racing is likely prohibited from doing anything with their charter for 2026. Matt Weaver on Twitter, or on X, excuse me, he tweeted out, he's a credited NASCAR reporter. Legacy Motor Club has obtained its court-requested restraining order on Rick Ware Racing. The complaint in this order is redacted, but it's regarding a charter purchase agreement that dissolved between the two parties. This likely prevents Rick Ware Racing from entering into another transaction. So, we talked about this last week. Rick Ware Racing, kind of out of left field. We didn't really know Legacy was interested in, upgrading to a 3-car program. Apparently, they had a deal in place with Rick Ware Racing to purchase a charter. Charter went bad, went south. It was kind of announced on April 1st. I think a lot of people in the garage thought it was an April Fool's joke, which it wasn't. And now this story's gotten even more legs as Legacy Motor Club ends up putting a restraining order on Rick Ware Racing. So Rick Ware Racing is kind of handcuffed at this point in regards to any growth, any ability to sell off charters. And interesting coming out of the headliners this week in regards to Rick Ware Racing. Okay, headliner number 2, Rural Kane, joins Front Row Motorsports to sponsor Noah Gragson and Chandler Smith. Rural Kane, is America's farm and home store, and it is proud to announce a brand new partnership with Front Row Motorsports. Headliner number 3. Schluter Systems is sponsoring Rick Ware Racing in 3 events in 2025. Schluter Systems, a leader in innovative tile installation solutions, will be sponsoring Corey LaJoy. Headliner number 4 this week. Grizzly nicotine pouches will be sponsoring AJ Allmendinger in 4 races. We saw Grizzly nicotine pouches be a primary sponsor of Ty Dillon earlier this year, but they will be sponsoring AJ Allmendinger in 4 races. And that is pretty much going to wrap us up this week on our sponsorship updates. Again, courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on X, by web, or by Facebook at www.jski.com. So, a short list this week. Short list with the headliners, which for me, I kind of like. Just wanted to keep you guys all up to date in regards to what was happening in regards to Legacy Motor Club. And of course, some sponsorships that may be new to the track this week. If you're watching the race and you're like, what the hell's going on? Who is that? Those hopefully will clear some answers up for you. And like I said, short, sweet, to the point. Let's get to Darlington. Let's take the green and white checker flag on show announcements and headliners. Let's finish our stage off, and now let's take the green flag out this evening on our Darlington race discussion. So, lots to talk about. There is a lot of items to talk about this week coming out of Darlington. And as you heard me before we went to show announcements and the headliners, I talked about how special Darlington was. And as I said in that earlier segment, Darlington having 2 races with the 2 different identities, Throwback Weekend and the Southern 500, I think it keeps fans engaged in both races. When I hear about a lot of fans that complain about both races or the tracks having 2 races, you never hear Darlington. You never hear Darlington. Now, granted, it is fantastic racing, tire wear, high speeds. Usually it's a very driver track. If you're not good at it, you're going to stay bad at it until you learn how to drive it. But I think the other thing too, as I said earlier, I believe it's because they have the Throwback Weekend and the Southern 500 that keeps fans from complaining about it. This past week, NASCAR's most popular driver, Chase Elliott, had an interesting answer in regards to the Throwback Weekend. In his press conference before the race weekend, or during the race weekend, excuse me, he was asked, how do you feel about the Throwback Weekend? Now, before I say what he said, I will say I thought Chase Elliott's efforts in his throwback scheme were kind of lame this year. I'm not going to lie. That may be one of the worst throwback schemes. I love Chase Elliott. I really do. I know I ripped him last week on the episode. I know that I'm starting to lose a lot of faith and a lot of trust in Chase Elliott as a driver because it just seems like he always finds way to lose races instead of win races. But I think the one thing that I just this throwback scheme was really awful. And I'm like, dude. And for everyone that's listening, and obviously that didn't know what the throwback scheme was, it was a tribute to Ken Schrader in the Kodiak paint scheme on the 25 car back, I believe in the early 90s he ran it. And I don't know if it was Universe or if it was Chase Elliott or if it was Hendrick Motorsports. I don't know who it was in regards to who put that together, but that was awful. The green tint was completely off. The black tint was completely off. The gray was completely off. And the one thing that I will say, and I'll keep my comments to myself after I say what he said in the press conference, but I feel like there was a lot of drivers over the last couple of years that have done really good jobs of bringing back like animal like designs. We saw this past weekend with Larson when he did the Hendrick Motors or HendrickCars.com throwback to Terry Labonte. Yeah, it was HendrickCars.com, but Terry Labonte ran a Kellogg's car, but they still did the stripes. Yes, I get it. Kodiak is tobacco. Tobacco is not allowed on NASCAR or in sponsorships anymore, but you got to at least try to attempt to bring that bear back. So, Going back to what Chase Elliott said, though, he again he was asked how you feel about Throwback Weekend, and Chase's response was, "I believe it's outran its course. I believe we beat this horse down too far." And at some point, these throwback schemes are going to be doing throwback schemes to me back in 2018. Now, as you can tell, I think that a lot of the fans were really, really disappointed with the answer, especially coming from NASCAR's most popular driver. And two thoughts here for me. One, I kind of disagree with Chase Elliott. I don't think that it's outran its course. I think that there's still so many, throwback schemes over the course of history in NASCAR that we can continuously do. I was a little disappointed though this year that I believe they said something that it was 19 drivers did not do a throwback scheme in this race, which was very disappointing if you're labeling it as the throwback weekend. But the throwback schemes that we got this year in 2025, I thought were fantastic, minus Chase Elliott's. Um, I will say, I believe the Xfinity series outdid the Cup series. I believe some of those Xfinity car schemes were fantastic. Now, I guess for me, the question is, do I believe that, we should continue the throwback schemes going forward? The answer to me is absolutely yes. Now, I do think that we need a little change, a little innovation. I think we need a little, a little change up here with the throwback schemes. I don't know how realistic this is, but one of my favorite throwback schemes of all time was Ross Chastain back in 2023. And for the fans that are listening at home, probably thinking, well, what did Ross run in 2023? Can't remember. It was a throwback scheme to Dale Jarrett in the UPS car. The sponsor on that vehicle that day was UPS. Now, I get it. Worldwide Express is, I believe, a sub-asset company of UPS. And they were able to link the ties together in regards to getting them basically to put the main sponsor, UPS, on the car. And I get it too. There may be some sponsors that either were bought out. Like I look at DuPont, right? Exalta is basically DuPont. But for me, if you're throwing the throwback scheme and the sponsorship is still around, I believe NASCAR should require the teams to ask the actual sponsor if they can run the scheme on the vehicle. I think one of my favorite paint schemes from this past weekend was Leland Honeyman down in the Xfinity Series. He ran a throwback scheme to Scott Riggs with the Nesquik 10 car. Car was beautifully done. The chocolate milk on the side panels, perfectly done. The sponsor was some wireless company. And that's fine. But to me, it feels somewhat fake. Yeah, the scheme's there, but run the damn sponsorship too. I mean, I'm sure that Nesquik will be like, you know what, screw it. We'll for one race, and I get it. It's probably a ton of money for the company to come in and do this, but for one race, I believe personally that they should be like, yeah, screw it. We'll put the sponsorship on the car. If they're still around, you should ask them. Unfortunately, tobacco, you're not going to be able to get those sponsorships back in, right? You're not going to be able to get Winston. You're not going to be able to get Newport or Kodiak or Skoal, or you're not going to be able to do any of that. And of course, there's some companies that have been bought out over the course of, like Haviland, Texaco is not really around anymore. I believe they were bought out by Valero. But if the sponsorship is still around and you're running the throwback scheme, I believe that it should be a requirement to run the actual sponsorship for one race. The team should be able to listen. It's one race, pay for the scheme. One of the examples that I will say, not just was Leland Honeyman's Nesquik car, but then I look at what happened with Alex Bowman, who ran a throwback scheme to Jimmy Johnson 2013, the all black. Beautiful car, by the way. Beautiful paint scheme. But it had Ally on it. And Ally Financial is a great sponsorship for the sport, but it's not the original one. I want Lowe's. Give me Lowe's, put it on the damn car. That's going to be my spiel for Throwback Weekend. If you're listening live on YouTube, excuse me, feel free to chime in on that topic. Feel free to comment on what you feel about Throwback Weekend. I believe Throwback Weekend still is a fantastic job. I think it still has a great purpose. I think it's still worth every penny to get. Still run that, the Throwback Weekend and advertise it as Throwback Weekend. But like I said, to spruce it up a little bit, I think if teams are running back a throwback scheme, they have to try to get the original sponsor on the car if they're still in business, number one. And number two, I believe it's mandatory you make every single car, if you're running a throwback, if it's Throwback Weekend, every car has to do a throwback scheme. It was very weird watching, I don't know, we'll just use this. It was weird watching Ross Chastain run around in a regular Bush scheme while you got Kyle Larson in the Terry Labonte Kellogg's car from 2003. So, again, if you're listening to this live, feel free to chime in on the chat in regards to Throwback Weekend. What's your opinion about it? So, like I said, I was talking about the Xfinity series. I personally believe, as I said, I think their throwback schemes outclassed the Cup by far. I think there was some incredible schemes this weekend. One of the most incredible schemes from this weekend from the Xfinity series for me was the tribute to Matt Kenseth from Brandon Jones. And man, oh man, did it look like, I mean, not just, not just did that 20 car look like Matt Kenseth on the paint scheme. It looked like Matt Kenseth on the track as Saturday's Xfinity race. Brandon Jones ended up winning the Sports Clips Haircuts VFW Help a Hero 200 at Darlington Raceway. He ended up beating out Chase Elliott, who ended up finishing second in this race. And honestly, after the final restart, I thought Chase Elliott was going to end up catching, while I was watching this race, I thought Chase Elliott was going to catch Brandon Jones in my mind. I thought that Chase Elliott had enough speed once he got in the second place to chase down Brandon Jones, who had an incredible restart, by the way. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. I guess Chase's car, once he got in the second, he could not run down Brandon Jones because Brandon Jones ended up winning this race by 1.105 second margin. And to be honest with you, it was kind of a feel-good story for Brandon Jones, who has been kind of bounced around in the Xfinity series. It's weird. When I first started this podcast, I was like, yeah, Brandon Jones, I could see this guy being a cup driver one day. I think that Brandon Jones is probably going to be a career Xfinity when it's all said and done, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But Brandon Jones, again, he was at JGR in 2022. 2023 and 2024, he went over to Junior Motorsports. Kind of felt like Brandon Jones was going to make the right decision by going to Junior Motorsports. Probably put the car in victory lane. Probably compete for some, cups. From Xfinity trophies, championships. Never panned out. On Saturday, that was Brandon Jones's first win in 98 attempts. 98 race winless streak was broken by Brandon Jones on Saturday. Brandon Jones ended up his last race win before he won at Darlington was on April 8th, 2022. I mean, nearly 3 years after it was almost 3 years between wins. I think it was, job well done by Brandon Jones. Yeah, some luck played in, but he had speed. I mean, he really did have some speed down this past Saturday, excuse me, down at Darlington. He only led 24 of the 137 laps ran. Unfortunately, Justin Allgaier, who every single week, I feel like this guy, Justin Allgaier, dominates the most races, leads the most laps in the Xfinity Series, and then some fluky, stupid situation ends up occurring where he ends up losing the race. Well, this week happened again, right? He led 56, most laps led in this race, won stage two, ended up finishing third behind Chase Elliott and Brandon Jones. For me, like I said, Justin Allgaier probably does everything correct in a Xfinity car. I'm thankful he won the championship last year, but here's another race that Allgaier pretty much dominates, pretty much runs away with, and still manages to lose this race. But again, great job by Brandon Jones. Final restart, ends up jumping out to a healthy lead, takes advantage of the final restart again. Well, and again, had enough speed, got the car into victory lane. Nice tribute to Matt Kenseth on Saturday. Brandon Jones, again, he was your winner in the Xfinity Series. And all right, let me click out of that. Cool. All right, so here we go. Sunday, Goodyear 400 from Darlington Raceway. Final stat line courtesy of NASCAR.com. Let's read through this real quick with all of you. Denny Hamlin ended up winning the 2025 Goodyear 400. Second was William Byron. Third was Christopher Bell. Fourth was Tyler Reddick. And fifth was Ryan Blaney. Stage one. Your stage one winner was William Byron, followed by Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Zane Smith, and AJ Allmendinger. That was your top 10 in stage one. Your top 10 in stage two. William Byron, once again, won stage two. That was followed up by Joey Logano, who finished second. Denny Hamlin finished third. Ryan Blaney finished fourth. Josh Berry finished fifth. Christopher Bell finished sixth. Ty Gibbs finished seventh. Ty Dillon finished eighth. Tyler Reddick finished ninth. And Alex Bowman finished 10th. So that was your top 10 in stage two. Final stat line in regards to laps led. Well, let's talk about the main one. William Byron ended up starting on the pole, ended up leading the first 243 laps of this race. 243 laps. Tyler Reddick, he ended up leading one time for 42 laps. Denny Hamlin led twice for 10 laps. And then Ryan Blaney led one time for 2 laps. So before we really get into the discussion tonight, let me bring up the topic of questions that are, a couple of the topics that I wanted to discuss with you. Give me a second as I pull up them on Facebook. So the takeaways that I had coming out of Darlington this weekend, right? The first one, William Byron's car had issues in dirty air. And losing the lead on the last green flag pit cycle lost him that race. Do not overlook what he did yesterday, meaning Sunday. He did not get the win, but remarkable performance with how many laps he led. I will say this, ironic he threw back to Jeff Gordon because that's who he looked like driving that car on Sunday. And what do I mean by this? Well, first of all, as I said in the opening segment, Darlington is a track that either you're really good at or you're really bad at. I've heard Jeff Burton talk about it on the morning drive on SiriusXM. I've heard multiple time winners. We heard Richard Petty in the booth the other day talk about how tough it is to drive at Darlington. Darlington, for any of my new fans or new fans to NASCAR, Darlington is the most unique track probably on the circuit. First of all, it is a 1.36 mile track. So it's shorter than your typical 1.5s. It's longer than your 1 milers. The other thing, too, is the way that the track is shaped. It's shaped as an egg. And the reason why is because they had to build around the pond. Out in turns originally 1 and 2, but it's now 3 and 4 years ago. It is a very difficult track. We have seen pole winners for years not lead, you know, maybe lead a handful of laps and then they fade into the sunset for the day and that's it. What William Byron did to lead the first 243 laps. Now, granted, he didn't lead a single lap after, but nobody could get around that 24 on Sunday for almost probably what 86, 85, 86% of that race. There have been absolute legends of the sport that have never ever had that much that's much success in the starter race at Darlington ever. For me, it's tough because I'm like, damn. I know what Rudy Fugle and William Byron were probably thinking in the car. They were probably looking at this scenario going, we've led every single lap. Let's try to run this out and try to get a caution. Hopefully we can come down pit road and try to get you back into the lead once again. The caution late in the run, and that's what I was thinking while I was watching this race. I'm like, the caution's going to come. It has to, right? Like he's led every single lap in this race. He's got to get the caution. Unfortunately, he pitted after Bell and Reddick and ended up came on as soon as he came off pit road was behind Reddick and Bell. Unfortunately, though, when his car got stuck in dirty air, he could neither advance forward or really do anything for that matter. He was stuck in third pretty much until Kyle Larson ended up spinning out at the end of the race, essentially. And in the final restart, obviously, he ended up pushing Denny Hamlin, who he was right behind on the final restart, and ended up getting him, or finishing in second in this race. But as I said, we cannot overlook what William Byron did on Sunday. 243 straight laps. Now, I get it. There's a lot of people lead a lot of laps all the time. But consecutively, I mean, he was in the lead one time, and it was 243 straight laps. And the whole thing, though, I will say, is that I felt like sometimes during the race, it kind of foreshadowed what was going to happen at the end if, Byron did get in dirty air. Because towards the end of each stage, when he ended up catching the back of the pack, he ended up having issues in dirty air. Preece and Buescher almost caught him at the end of stage one. And then again, Logano almost caught him at the end of stage two because he was stuck in lap traffic. Now, for the casual fan, they're probably looking at it going, well, why is William Byron going to go hard when he's got a comfortable lead a comfortable margin lead over second place? And it's the end of the stage. Why would he go hard? And that's a fair point. But it kind of showed a little concern, and unfortunately, it kind of showed what happened when he got into dirty air. To put this into perspective, I'm going to calculate it right now. 243 out of 209. Well, it was a 297 lap race because we had the green white checkered. He led 243 laps of 297. He led 81% of the laps on Sunday. Straight through. So I was a little bit off. I'm sorry. So straight through 81% of the race he led. Remarkable. And it is interesting though because William Byron has really kind of, in my opinion, has overcome how to drive this car. He's got 14 career wins in this car. Well, there's a lot of drivers in this series that have been multiple time champions or a champion of the sport, his teammate Chase Elliott, but there have been drivers that have said that they're having a hard time trying to drive this car. Well, William Byron has kind of mastered it, and he's kind of excelled at it. Granted, he has his inefficiencies at times, but this is what I've been telling people since 2018. William Byron is going to be a legit driver. He's going to be, to me, one of the by the end of his career, he's going to probably be one of the best the sport's ever seen. And I still stand on that hill. Hendrick Motorsports, he's still very young. He's only, I believe, 26 years old. The dude knows how to win, and he has a really good crew chief with Rudy Fugle. Like I said, I think it was a little bit of a mistake to wait for the caution, but you got to play your cards, and to me, you have to do what it takes to lead every single lap. If you're at that point, again, 81% straight through in the race, he ended up leading. Again, just because he didn't win the race, it should not be overlooked of what he did in that race on Sunday. Takeaway number 2 that I had coming out of Darlington this week. Team Penske, and this is going to be a fun topic. And again, if you're listening to us live on YouTube, feel free to chime in on their chat line, Blown Engine chat line, because I'm sure there's some Team Penske fans that want to talk about this. But takeaway number 2, Team Penske's pit crews continue to cost their drivers wins over the past few seasons. It's tough to complain about it since Team Penske has now won 3 straight titles. But imagine how elite they would be if they would stop losing their driver spots on pit road. And I think let's talk about this. And to me, I believe there's a lot of fans that overlook this, and it is very difficult to sit there and complain and feel bad for Team Penske, considering the fact that they just won 3 straight titles. Yeah, Logano, Blaney, Logano. But if you talk to any NASCAR fan, right, what's the biggest complaint? And I talk to all my friends, I talk to a lot of other media members in this sport. What is the biggest complaint that NASCAR fans had with Logano winning that championship last year? Oh, well, he was 17th in the total points, or his average finish wasn't that great. So they're not winning that many races. Ryan Blaney is his championship season. He's only won 3 races. And to me, it's not that Penske doesn't have the speed, because we clearly saw it on Sunday. We clearly saw the speed on Sunday from Team Penske, and specifically Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney's car, we were talking about William Byron, how his car was dying in dirty air. The only car that was able to pass cleanly in dirty air was Ryan Blaney. At the end of this race, right, Reddick was in a comfortable lead. Ryan Blaney chased down Tyler Reddick and passed him with 7 to go. Or excuse me, 8 to go. Because Reddick just didn't have any tires, but Blaney preserved his tires and had the speed to catch him. Caution comes out. Perfect. Listen, Team Penske, this is your time to shine, right? Time to shine. And what happens? Well, Blaney comes down pit road in first and ends up finishing this race in 5th on a green white checkered. He went into pit road in first and lost 4 spots on pit road, because I believe he came out 5th. Oh, okay. So it's not just it just wasn't Ryan Blaney either. Joey Logano, coming into that pit stop on before the green white checkered, came on the pit road in 6th. Where did Joey Logano finish in this race? 13th. I don't know where he came off pit road. I believe he came out off maybe 10th, 11th. But he finished 13th. I read a stat this past week, courtesy of Auto Racing Analytics, because our friends over there, they're the first ones to not just to point it out, but to provide data on this. In regards to pit crew efficiency this year, right now, Penske, the best pit crew right now in regards to rating in a race, the best pit crew belonged to Austin Cindric this year so far at 19th. This organization is killing their drivers in regards to wins. If they could actually get a legitimate pit crew, I mean, if you listen to any of our episodes the last 2 to 3 years, I've continuously and constantly pounded the table. Every year it is something with Ryan Blaney's crew. Every year. They haven't and the thing is, the scary part about Team Penske is this. They have intelligent crew chiefs. Paul Wolfe with Joey Logano, Jonathan Hassler with Ryan Blaney. Those guys are very intelligent, but the crews just continuously make mistakes on pit road. And I get it for my fans that are listening. Well, Matt, I don't know why you're complaining about Team Penske. They won the championship the last 3 years. But again, I go back to this past offseason when we sit there and everyone talks about Joey Logano and how bad of an average finish he is and how much of an embarrassment it is to the sport that this driver with an average finish, I believe it was like 17th or something, he shouldn't be champion. Well, if you, I don't know, eliminate probably, I would say 20% of their issues on pit road, the two of them probably win probably 3 to 4 more races. That race to me on Sunday, once Byron got in the dirty air, that race to me came down to the 12. And the same thing in the booth. Boyer and Harvick and Mike Joy called that out. They legitimately said, look at this 12 car. He's got a rocket ship. This is his race to lose, essentially. He got around Reddick pretty much 7 laps to go. And as long as there's green flag, how far is the interval is he going to win this race? I mean, I thought he was going to probably get the interval between him and Reddick to like 2.5, 2.6. Caution comes out and leave it for Team Penske once again with their pit crews. And what happens? Ryan Blaney cost them a win. It's a miracle to me. And this is why when people tell me, oh, Logano stinks or Blaney's not a great driver, you're wrong. The two of them have been outstanding in regards to driving ability. The equipment is incredible. The crew chiefs are incredible. The drivers are elite. The problem is that they have pit crews that are just, and I don't know what, like, I watch every single week. I watch these pit crews from JGR, Hendrick, everywhere. Practice all this stuff and how to efficiently change tires and fuel and get them out quick. I mean, is Team Penske not doing this? I mean, it's almost laughable at this point. The last 3 years since the next gen car, how bad their pit crew has been. It's laughable at this point. And yes, I get it. Matt, stop complaining. I get it. And the reason why is because they won the last 3 championships. But you can silence the haters if you, I don't know, come up better on pit road and win more races. Team Penske Ryan Blaney has had a very fast car this year to start. Ryan Blaney to me, he had the 2 blown engines, which again, mechanical issues. And then he had this issue on Sunday where he lost spots on pit road before Greenway checkered. On a track that is going to be it was not going to be a long run. It was going to be a short run. And his car was best in a long run scenario. And you saw what happened when everyone got in the dirty air. They really couldn't pass. And you guys cost them that win. That's now 3 opportunities for Ryan Blaney that has been issues that have been uncontrollable. And like I said, it just didn't happen to Ryan Blaney this week. It happened to his teammate, Joey Logano. Joey Logano was a top 10, maybe fringe top 5 car. Pit road killed him again. Finishes 13th. I understand. Take a chill pill. They won the last 3 championships. But if they're going to win another championship this year, I mean, these pit crews for Team Penske have to get it together. Final takeaway from Darlington on Sunday that I posted on our Facebook page, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm going to admit, I said it last week, but I have to say it again. I will say it again. I was completely wrong about Denny Hamlin this season. I said the 11 would regress in 2025, but very difficult to regress when the pit crew has been elite to start 2025. Let's not kid ourselves. Denny Hamlin had speed on Sunday at Darlington. He was third. He was running third in that race up until the final caution with Kyle Larson. But that 11 crew won that race for him on the final pit stop. Denny Hamlin, to me, I said in the beginning of the season, I said, this team, nah, they're going to regress. Denny had a hot start to start 2024. Won Bristol, Richmond, Dover. Cool, great. Never to be seen from again in regards to wins. Comes into this season, we had sponsorship issues. We had the Chris Gale caught by surprise announcement. All this type of stuff go for Denny Hamlin. And I even said this. I was not a Chris Gale fan to start the season. I thought the best thing that could have happened to Ty Gibbs, and I will say this as a mistake. I said it earlier in the offseason. I said the best thing that could happen to Ty Gibbs is Chris Gale's gone. And boy, oh boy, was I completely wrong about this organization. Completely wrong about this team and Denny Hamlin. And a lot of fans may be looking at me going, he got lucky. He got lucky. He got lucky. The caution can't. It doesn't matter if he got lucky. He was running third of time of caution from Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin picked up his third straight top five. Second straight, he went back to back and wins Darlington and Martinsville. Last week he completely dominated. We talked about that. This week he led twice for 10 laps. Okay, it wasn't really a dominant performance, but he had the speed, right? Okay, let's talk about Denny for a second. Right now, Denny Hamlin has posted, courtesy of NASCAR.com, he's got a 10.62 average finish. His laps led is at 308 now. He's got 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s in 8 races with 2 wins. Okay. The beginning, Daytona 500, 24th, outlier of a race. Take it with a grain of salt. Atlanta, same thing, 6th place, take it with a grain of salt, outlier finish. 21st Dakota, well, we know he's not a road racer. Second at Phoenix, nearly beat his teammate out with Christopher Bell. So when he's got speed on non-drafting ovals and road courses, he showed you he had speed. Vegas, he had a weird race, 25th. That's really unusual, but as an elite driver, sometimes you have bad races. 5th at Homestead, that's when it really started. Felt like the luck was going towards success for Denny. Progressive comes on board. Great news, fills the void of FedEx, but then he goes back to back and wins. Completely wrong about Denny Hamlin this year. And Chris Gale. Last week we talked about it. I'll repeat it again for our fans that are listening. Chris Gale is a very conservative crew chief. He was. He was very good with the leadership, with the mentor of Eric Jones, with Ty Gibbs, trying to get these drivers into, get them comfortable behind the wheel. So to me, he was a very conservative crew chief. Denny Hamlin, this late in his career, let's talk about this too. Denny Hamlin over the last 7 seasons has 25 career wins, or 25 of his 56 career wins came in the last 7 seasons. 25 of them. He went winless in 2018. He followed it up in 2019 and 2020 with winning the Daytona 500 and then ripped off multiple great seasons. Chris Gabehart, to me, was the best crew chief for Denny because I'm like, oh, man, this guy's taking Denny Hamlin to the next level. This guy's analytical. He's a critical thinker. This is the guy that's going to break that crew chief slump that Denny needed to get him over the top. Chris Gabehart never did. And then when they made the announcement for Chris Gale, I'm like, oh, God. Well, there goes Denny's career. It was fun while it lasted. I'm like, oh great, it's going to be almost like Kyle Busch, basically running what now 20th. And wrong. Back-to-back wins. This crew is completely elite. Essentially, Denny brought back. I mean, Denny's crew is essentially everybody minus Chris Gabehart. It's just Chris Gale now. That's all. It's all the only difference. And Denny said it last week after he won Martinsville. He's like, we had to get Chris Gale accustomed to our team. We had to get him accustomed to us and what we want to do. And we're what? 8 races in? We're 8 races in. I would say the early returns have absolutely worked. He's got 2 wins. He's already locked into the playoffs. Where I think, and this is where I kind of had a discussion with multiple fans on our Facebook page. And thank you, Seriously Fast Motorsports, for asking the question. They asked this past week, they said, is Denny Hamlin considered an elite all-time NASCAR driver? My post was this. I said, you can't tell the story now of NASCAR without Denny Hamlin. You can't. And I'm not even talking about ownership. I'm not talking about podcasts. I'm talking about driving ability. You can't tell the story of NASCAR without him. Before 2018, I'd probably say, yeah, you know what? He was a good driver. Ryan Newman, kind of a better version of Ryan Newman. Post 2018, when Gabehart came in 2019 until today, no, that took him to an elite category. All-time elite. The only thing missing is the championship. And with the way he's going, and with the way that this crew's operating on all cylinders, especially this pit crew, for me, Denny might be your early favorite for a championship. That pit crew is elite. There's no other driver in this sport that I want to preserve tires on a car other than Denny Hamlin. The strategy has been over the last 3 weeks has been elite. They have been incredible. Him and Gale have been absolutely incredible in coming up with in-race strategy. Their pit strategies are on point. And I get it. Right now, every move looks like it's working like crazy. But when you have a veteran driver like Denny Hamlin, and where I was going with this is over the last 7 years, he has completely transformed into one of the series best. He has transformed into one of the series best. And this year, I think it's definitely shown. I owe that whole entire 11 crew a complete apology. I thought they were going to regress. Forget it. At this point, I'm on Hamlin watch. We're at 2 wins now. How many more wins are we going to get to Denny Hamlin? Final point from that. Last 7 years. Denny Hamlin's not getting any younger. Denny Hamlin is not getting any younger. I think he is 40. He's 44, 45. We start seeing drivers. I'll tell you in a second. Give me hold on. Denny Hamlin is 44 years old. At 44 years old, we have seen all-time great drivers starting to fall off of age cliff. Denny is not showing any signs. He's not showing any signs. And he's gotten better as he's gotten older. Where it's like you had Jimmy, who was incredible between a certain age bracket, faded once they got over that certain point. The Kane, all these drivers have done it. Denny is just getting better. Who's not to say that he runs until he's 50-something years old? If there's any driver that could, probably could be him at this point. Again, I apologize to the 11 team. I called you guys. I said that you guys were going to regress. But you didn't. Anyway, so those were my key takeaways from Darlington this past weekend. Like I said, William Byron, don't overlook what happened. Incredible run. Unfortunate circumstances, but still do not overlook what he did. Number 2, Team Penske. Got to get the pit crews all together. Number 3, Denny Hamlin, the 11 team. I owe you an apology. The pit crew is elite. So Couple off topics real quick before we get into sorry. Couple off topics before we get into our Bristol discussion and NASCAR standings coming out of Darlington. Uh, I just want to say this: Kyle Larson, beautiful paint scheme. It is a damn shame that his race ended basically within 4 laps. I know he went back out on the track. I know he ran laps to try to get points and all that type of stuff. But damn, man, like I was just like, oh, Kyle Larson, the last 4 spring races has had issues all over the place. So really upset with that. He ended up getting credit for a 37th place finish. Luckily, we got the car back out on they got the car back out on the track. Number 2, Josh Berry. Do not overlook this 21 team. Do not overlook this 21 team this year. He won at Vegas. This 21 car has a ton of speed. They have been really, really good to start this season off. I was a Harrison Burton guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, oh man, Josh Berry and what he is doing in 21 is completely showing me that Harrison Burton had no business being in the Cup series at all. None. Josh Berry has been elite. Or I wouldn't say elite. Josh Berry has been very great. He has been very great. Unfortunate circumstances though, he ended up wrecking. He ended up basically wrecking at lap 194, and he ended up finishing 36. But that 21 car is usually in the front with Josh Berry as the driver. So I want our fans to keep an eye on that with Josh Berry. And then final point coming out of the weekend. A lot of fans, a lot of hate going on, thinking that Bubba Wallace intentionally spun Kyle Larson. Thank you to Auto Racing Analytics. They clarified the SMT data showed that Bubba did not spin Kyle Larson. Tyler Reddick ended up hitting the wall after Blaney passed him, ended up slapping the wall. Kyle Larson ended up checking up. Bubba was right there. Larson ended up hitting the brakes and then he ended up going around. But Bubba Wallace did not intentionally wreck Kyle Larson. So can we please stop with this? He intentionally wrecked them because he did not. Unfortunate circumstance too. Bubba Wallace, who finished stage 1 in second, ended up starting this race in 5th. He ended up finishing 21st. That was really weird. And I wanted to go back and look at the data before I came on tonight's show to see what happened with the 23 car. So, okay, that's Darlington. Before we get into Bristol picks, let's run through the point standings real quick so all of you are caught up to date. Right now, 2025 standings coming out of Darlington. 1, William Byron still leads the points. Denny Hamlin is now sitting in 2. Christopher Bell is in 3rd in the points. Chase Elliott is in 4th. Tyler Reddick is in 5th. Kyle Larson, after a bad weekend at Darlington, falls to 6th. 7th is Ryan Blaney. 8th is Bubba Wallace. 9th is Joey Logano. And Bowman, who had a terrible weekend as well, he falls to 10th in the points. Chris Buescher ends up currently is 11th in the point standings. 12th is Ross Chastain. 13th is RFK teammate of Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece. Preece sitting in 13th is pretty impressive as well. 14th, Chase Briscoe sits in the points. 15th is Kyle Busch, and 16th is AJ Allmendinger. Now, if we put the wins, drivers who clinched, Josh Berry would jump to the points. He's currently sitting in the overall standings in 20th. But because he's got the win, he will go up and he would knock out AJ Allmendinger. So those are your Cup standings coming out. Darlington, a couple shout outs or a shout out this weekend. Ty Gibbs, his first top 10, man, first top 10, not just the 2025, but in the last 18 races almost. I think it's like almost 18 races. He collects his first top 10 this past weekend at Darlington. That is massive for the 54. Because of that finish, he jumped 5 spots in the points. He was from 31st and he jumped up to 26th now. And final point coming out of Darlington, guys, folks. You all know how big of a fan I am of Brad Keselowski. It's not looking good. It's really not looking good. It's currently sitting 31st in the points. He had speed. He had the car to get, or, do a great job at Darlington this past weekend. Unfortunately, loose nut ends up falling off the car, ends up spinning, never got himself out of the hole. It's been a disaster for Brad Keselowski. Every way possible, it has been an absolute disaster. Currently, his average finish is 26.1. I got a question asked to me. They're like, do you think that Brad is focused on other things at this point? Because RFK clearly has speed. Priest and Busher right now currently sit in the top 16 within points. They both have flashes of speed. I mean, Priest obviously finished, didn't, Priest ended up not finishing as well as he started on Sunday, but he's been really good this year. Busher's been real, he's getting much better at this point. I mean, I guess my answer to that, do I think that Brad is kind of focused on other things within the business? Maybe, maybe at this point, but it's just so unusual that his car, I mean, he's not existent. I mean, he's pulling out the caution, or so Brad watch. I'm officially calling this now Brad watch. I mean, we're going to Bristol this weekend coming up. Then we got the Easter break. Hopefully, going in the Easter break at Bristol, if something happens, I'm concerned. I'm concerned to say the least. Green and white checker flag out in the Darlington discussion. Before I let you go tonight, let's give you some Bristol picks as we close out tonight's show. Last year, 2024, good Food City 500 at Bristol. Denny Hamlin ended up winning this race. Very fun race. That was that Goodyear tire, and I think remember that race was so much fun. They were like pack drafting, like it was the weirdest race in the world because they didn't know what happened with the tires. People were complaining about Goodyear. At the end of it, everyone walked away going, man, that was an awesome, awesome race. So let's give you some picks as we head into Bristol this week. 4 drivers I like, courtesy of driveraverages.com. First up on the board, going Kyle Larson. Since the beginning of the next gen car at Bristol, on the concrete, not the dirt, Kyle Larson has the best average finish among drivers in those 4 races with a 3.3. He's got 1 win, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and he leads all drivers in laps led percent with a 26.8%. Again, like I did with Darlington last week, if you have a ton of speed and you know how to get to the front of the pack, you usually stay in the front of the pack. I like Kyle Larson a lot this week with that 26.8% laps led. Number 2 on the list, Denny Hamlin. Very tough to pick against the driver of the 11. According to driveraverages.com, he has a 3.8 average finish in 4 races on the concrete in the next gen car with 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Oh, and by the way, he also beat your favorite driver. Talking about laps led percentage again, Denny Hamlin is the 3rd driver with the highest, he's the 3rd highest driver among laps led percent with a 15.3 at Bristol Concrete. I like Denny Hamlin a lot this week. Really good stretch of races. I know I had some Hamlin fans comment on our Facebook page. You're right. I mean, Denny Hamlin, he's heating up right now. Why not go for the trifecta of the Heritage Tour as Fox was advertised it as? Driver number 4 I like this week, or driver number 3, excuse me, that I like this week in Bristol. Give me Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell in the next gen car has a 5.5 average finish with 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and 18% of the laps led in those 4 races. Christopher Bell, for me, as a driver, not just as the average finish there, but the laps led. He sits number 2 behind Kyle Larson in laps led percentage at Bristol on the concrete. I like Christopher Bell. He's been kind of quiet, obviously, after winning. He won 3 straight races. Kind of quiet, Let's see if he can start heating back up again at Bristol. So far right now, I got Kyle Larson as my number one. Number two is Denny Hamlin. Number three is Christopher Bell. Let's give you driver number four on the concrete. And I'm going to go according to driveraverages.com. Let's go with Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher in the next gen car. Again, all stats courtesy of driveraverages.com. Chris Buescher in the next gen car has a 6.5 average finish at Bristol in 4 races with 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 9.4% of the laps led in those 4 races on the concrete. Buescher, remember, he won the night race at Bristol back in 2022 that kind of kicked off the little RFK, the reemergence of RFK racing. I like Buescher a lot. Buescher is pretty good on short tracks. I know you didn't do well a couple weeks ago at Martinsville, but I like Buescher a lot better on Bristol. So the 4 drivers I like this week: Larson, Hamlin, Bell, and Buescher. Drivers that are trending upwards. Well, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, let's go with Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott in the next gen car in the 4 concrete races at Bristol. 4.8 average finish. 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. The reason why I like him trending upwards, not like him in my category, laps led percentage, is at 0.3%. He just has not led laps at Bristol at all. Top 5 car? Absolutely. Top 10 car? Absolutely. Just cannot manage to find the lead at times at Bristol. I do think that changes this week. He's been as advertised on the short tracks. If he can get his shit together and not cost himself a win, I like Chase Elliott as a driver trending upwards this week. Driver number 2, I like trending upwards this week. I just said I'm on Brad watch and I'm concerned. But driver that I like trending upwards this week, second driver, give me Brad Keselowski. Brad K, since the next gen car, according to driveraverages.com, he has a 12.5 average finish with 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, and a 5.5% of the laps led in those 4 races. I like Keselowski because he just manages to find himself in the top 5, top 10 at Bristol. I'm not looking at Brad to win this race, but I like Brad to put himself in a top 5, top 10 position. He just needs something at this point. He sits 31st in the points. He is massively struggling. His 2 teammates actually have speed. I need Brad to pick it up. I like him trending in the right direction this week. Okay, so ironically, here's one for you guys. Oh, sorry, never mind. Let's talk about drivers trending in the wrong direction here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Let me pull it up. Drivers that are trending in the wrong direction. Drivers I'm not going to touch this week. One, let's go Tyler Reddick. Not really a short track racer. We kind of established that. Tyler Reddick ranks 27th among drivers in average finish at Bristol since the next gen car, with a 22.5 average finish, with only 2 top 20s, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s, 2 top 20s. With his best finish being 15th and his worst finish being 30th. Tyler Reddick has been awful at this track. So I would definitely not touch. Tyler Reddick is trending completely in the wrong direction. And then driver number 2 that's trending in the complete wrong direction. And this one kind of surprised me because for years, this driver was known as the King of Bristol. Kyle Busch is trending in the wrong direction. Kyle Busch ranks 38th in average finish among drivers on the last 4 races on the concrete track at Bristol. Yes, some of the drivers we could probably take out. We could probably take out Daniel Hemrick. We could probably take out Eric Almirola. Landon Castle only did 1 race. There's a couple drivers in this mix, but among drivers that, full-time cup drivers, he ranks 38th with a 26 average finish at Bristol. He has 1 top 20 in the last 4 races on the concrete. His best finish was 20th and his worst finish was 34th. At one point, we considered Kyle Busch to be one of the best drivers at Bristol. Not anymore. Kyle Busch is Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch trying in the wrong direction. All right. Well, that brings us out to tonight's segment here on the Broken Wheel Bearing podcast. Appreciate everyone's love, everyone's support. And again, if you really like what we're doing here on our podcast, feel free to follow us on Facebook. Feel free to follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. And then, of course, on our YouTube channel at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Like and subscribe to us. We do our live video live stream every Wednesday night with you. And feel free to chime in if you're listening to us live. Feel free to chime in on the chat. Blown Engine Line, that's what we call it. If you're pissed at your favorite driver's crew chief, whatever it is, feel free to chime in. Listen, we are 1 week away from a little long week off for Easter. Looking forward to that break. But before we get to that break, it's Bristol, baby. It is Bristol, baby. I'm looking forward to it. If you're going to the race, as usual, go to the race. Enjoy yourself this week, live from Bristol Motor Speedway. With all that being said, have a wonderful, safe Palm Sunday. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. Enjoy your race weekend from Bristol. We will chat next week here on the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast live stream. And then, of course, we will be interacting with all you on our Facebook page. With all that being said, God bless. Have a wonderful night and stay safe. Good night.
Will you tell Mr. Dennett that Ricky Bobby is my best friend, and it's shaking big time.
Probably never.